Hi, Arjun. We're live. Welcome to Adventure with Grace.
Hi, Grace. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me. Excited about this.
So to start with the show, I would love for the audience to get to know you a little bit more. Actually, like I think one of the most interesting experience you had was like you were the chief data officer of ZoomInfo. Henry was actually our guest from a couple of weeks ago. He was super. I loved my chat with him. He was super charismatic, and glad that you guys worked together before.
Yeah, Henry is awesome. I can speak about him for the next hour, but I know that's not the topic. But yes, my background, I've been.
Oh, hi everyone. Obviously, we have some sort of technical difficulties.
Yeah, it kicked me off. It didn't
Oh
like.
no.
It's like you shouldn't speak. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, the StreamYard
Okay.
god is doing crazy stuff right now. But yeah,
Fingers crossed. Let me try it again.
yes.
Um, I've been in the sales tech and MarTech space for a little over 13 years now. I've built and sold two companies in, first was one. Actually, my first company was a sales intelligence company before sales intelligence was a space. You can think of it like a combination of Clearbit and ZoomInfo, actually.
Mhm,
It had an enrichment part that was largely technology. Actually, not ZoomInfo, more like a Discover org, which had the human
mhm,
curation of data. So that's what I did first. I sold that company to Full Contact. They were a data and identity management company based in Colorado.
mhm,
That's how I came to US in 2016 end. Then I was with Full Contact for a little bit of time, about 1.5 years. Then resigned from there and started my second company called Insent. Insent was a conversational marketing and sales platform that we scaled up. The first company we scaled to about 72 people. Second company we scaled to 35 people, raised about $2.7 million in total. The company was doing good. Both the companies are actually doing pretty good, and we had the next rounds almost fully committed in both the cases. The inbound interest came in both cases, thankfully, with the M&A. This time the second one came from Henry and I have known each other since 2018. That's an interesting story where he I reached out to him cold email saying, "Hey, I know about data vendors. Do you want to talk?" In 2 minutes, I got a response connecting me to his colleague Derek at that time, and then I helped ZoomInfo source a little bit of direct dial phone numbers back in the day. And then one morning at 7:15 a.m., he called me and said, "Hey, Arjun, I have a job for you. Do you want to take it?" I said, "I want to start something of my own, and I need some visa help." And he immediately gave me a recommendation letter for my visa that I was trying to get back
mhm.
in the day, just helping a nobody, honestly. He spent like 1 hour giving me a letter. So that story was there in 2018. And in 2021, 2020 last is when we started chatting about a potential M&A, but then it kind of went cold. 2021, it came back up, and then things move fast. By 2021, June 6th, I believe, is when the deal closed. And since then, I went in as the SVP of product at ZoomInfo initially. And I built their ZoomInfo marketing, like the marketing suite of ZoomInfo alongside my team. Then from there, I became the chief data officer and managed kind of all the data assets at ZoomInfo. Amazing learning, both in terms of how to work with a huge team, how to operate at that kind of scale, how to be part of the board meetings, how to write memos, how do you work on influence and not authority. I mean, ton of learnings at ZoomInfo. So
Yeah,
that was my
that
background, and currently I'm the co-founder and CEO of Docket.
totally. I wonder, so when you are thinking about, I guess like I also listened to a different podcast. You basically chat about like the acquisition with Henry was like you went into the meeting at like 10 a.m. or like 9 a.m. and then you left at like 4 p.m. and then the deal was done. But so since like you have built two successful companies that's gotten acquired, can we talk about like what were something that you figured that you've done right? And then what are something that you feel like it was like not a full blown IPO situation. That what were like some learnings there from the two past like successful experience?
Both the cases, I think I was not looking for an exit. That was probably the best thing that I
Mhm,
did right. In the sense that the way to get anything in a company, right? Whether you want to build a big business, whether you want to get funding, whether you want to get acquired, the key is to build a great business.
Mhm.
That's it, right? And the other thing just comes through. So in both cases, the fact that I was not hard pressed to take an acquisition, I had enough money, both in terms of revenue and in terms of investor money that I had in my bank. That obviously made it very, very easy for me to kind of have that negotiation and get to the kind of things that I was looking for from an acquisition standpoint. Um, there are many other things, the communication is important. I have also made enough mistakes with my first one that those ones I did not repeat with my second one. I did other mistakes in the second one, but generally my second outcome and the whole interaction was way better than the first one, thanks to the first experience that I was able to do in the second one. Why didn't the company go the IPO thing? I mean, there's no right answer for this. There's no way to do a what if scenario analysis in life. We all wish we had. Like, what if I had not sold, right? There was no way to kind of know that at any given point in time. And I say this all the time, never say never when it comes to companies and exits. You're at a point wherein you're like, okay, I have multiple paths here. Either I can sell a company or I can go take the next round and kind of build it out. What is the optimum outcome for everybody involved?
Mhm.
So at that point, it's not about you as a founder. It's not about your
Mhm.
co-founder alone. It is about the team. It is about the investor. It is about the advisor. It is about the product. It's about the customers. So all of these different stakeholders are there, and you take the decision based on the information that you have at that point. And you have, like, top 3 or 4 things that you really want to hit. These are the 4 things. If those are checked, then I'll be like, yes. Then
Mhm.
you also go talk to your mentors, and they help you clarify, should you sell, should you not sell. They
Mhm.
kind of help you think through that. So could I have gone IPO?
I think we have another technical difficulties today. Um, Meanwhile, how is everyone? I know some people are listening. If you want to say hi,
I'm back.
we're back. Yeah, the StreamYard got it is gutting today. But anyway, so
Yeah.
okay, so you were saying, so like I totally agree with you. So like basically based off like so first of all, like build a really good business, and then you can like think of like the best decision to make at the having like a full context and then like understanding your full on situation. So I wanna maybe we could start with Docket. So like Docket is essentially a AI sales engineer. And you mentioned that like people who use Docket, it's like automatically adding like 20 people's productivity into their kind of like company. So why don't we start with like what make you decided to start the company, and then what is the current sales job or sales ecosystem kind of look like, and like how do you imagine like this company or like this product to help the sales organization to be more productive?
Absolutely. Um, so I was at ZoomInfo.
Mhm.
Like I said, I built the ZoomInfo marketing tool,
Mhm.
and I was also the chief data officer, answering a lot of questions, kind of acting as the sales engineer. When my team and I launched the marketing suite, obviously we were
Mhm.
this small 15, 14 people team that was rolling it out to 2,000 sellers. One thing that
Mhm.
I learned at ZoomInfo is when you are working at a big company, it doesn't matter what product you build. Your success
Mhm.
will depend on whether the go to market is able to translate that to the customers,
Mhm.
right? So I learned that the only way my product or our product will succeed is if we make it possible for the 2,000 sellers to talk about it, right?
Mhm.
And so I was getting on calls, I was doing the training, I was the sales enablement person, I was the sales engineer answering the questions. So I saw 2 things. One was that all of the questions that the customers were asking, I have answered that like 5 times before,
Mhm.
and my team has answered that 10 times before.
Mhm.
So it was, the answer was already there. It was somewhere in the enterprise. It was
Mhm.
humanly impossible to pull it all together into one place, keep it
Mhm.
updated, and make it available for account executives or customer success people just in time. This was the kind of the unique insight, so to speak. And at the same time, AI was happening thick and fast. And at the core of who I am, while I believe I was successful to operate at a ZoomInfo kind of a level, which was 1.2 billion revenue company standpoint at a C level, at the heart I'm a startup guy.
Mhm.
So once you are an entrepreneur, you always have that bug of coming back and doing something of my own. And in fact, when I told Henry that, I want to go do something else, he always knew that I would go out and do something. In fact, at the time when the acquisition happened, he had promised that he will be an investor when I am off and do
Mhm.
something. He actually kept to his word. He is an investor in Docket. So then that's how it happened. That problem statement, that unique insight, and AI was happening thick and fast,
Mhm.
combined with my bug of starting something of my own again, started pushed me into the Docket
Mhm.
direction. And Docket started as an AI sales engineer. Today we have two agents, AI sales engineer and the AI seller. Are
Mhm.
fundamentally the way in which we are thinking about the world is, all of the go to market and product knowledge in company is very siloed and fragmented. Less than 7% of it is documented anywhere. But for companies to execute on go to market AI effectively, you have to bring all of the siloed data together, remove all the noise, learn from the
Mhm.
best sellers, and have a knowledge graph that is ready for you. So
Mhm.
that's what we do. So we call it the sales knowledge lake. So Docket, once we engage with the customer, we help them build the sales knowledge lake. Once the sales knowledge lake is ready, we have two agents that sits on top of it. One is the enabling agent, that is the AI sales engineer, and the other is the autonomous agent, which is the AI seller. So the AI sales engineering is all about helping the sales people get information quickly, and the AI seller is all about going live on the website and help you sell more in an autonomous fashion.
Mhm.
So these are the two agents that Docket is serving our customers today.
I wonder, so why don't we, like, if you want to showcase the product to the audience, we could. So we could share screen and stuff. So I feel like one part like is like, we had founder of like Glean on the show. So like they are building something sort of like an internal database, the internal chat GPT vibe things, right? And then there is like I think chat GPT for like enterprise. There's like a bunch of different tools that are kind of like doing the function of like helping the one department or one function to like search different documents or like getting the knowledge to the people who are executing on it. Like how do you differentiate in that sense to maybe it is focusing on sales primarily, but like I guess like how do you differentiate yourself from the sea of different product that are doing like a chat gp for x type things.
Absolutely. We always knew that some of these bigger companies
Mhm.
that are doing the foundational models will come up and do enterprise search kind of use cases,
Mhm.
whether it is ChatGPT, whether it is Gemini, Amazon Q, Atlassian Rovo, Perplexity is getting into the game. Glean has been doing the enterprise search for some time. So we always knew that this would happen.
Mhm.
But we believe that the go to market needs are nuanced enough that you need to have a more focused approach there. That has been our thesis. And we believe that verticalized agents will exist in companies. There will be this generic enterprise layer of search slash answering that these people are doing, and then there is the verticalized agents that will continue to be existing because of the nuances that are needed. As an
Mhm.
example, if you are only doing a search and then summarization of everything that you find in search, how do you weed out the outdated data? So by definition, if you're doing search, you have to bring outdated data and updated data because you're searching. And then if you're a company that is searching and summarizing, then you are not trying to get the truth, you are getting to the summary of everything that is possible. Versus Docket, we are searching for the truth, which means we automatically remove the outdated data. We remove the conflicted answers. Wherever we feel it is not high enough in confidence, we have a workflow that goes and asks the SMEs. We have an ability to learn from the best sellers. We have the ability to go live on Zoom calls and give real time support. So there's a lot of these additional nuances and workflows that we have built that is absolutely needed for a go to market use cases.
Mhm.
In theory, you can use an Excel sheet instead of Salesforce,
Mhm.
but you cannot.
Mhm.
Just the nuances of go to market is just too high. And given that go to market is 50% of the expenses in a company, and pretty much the entire revenue is getting generated by that organization, companies will always try to optimize even the last piece of efficiency that they can. So
Mhm.
while I believe all these enterprise search companies will exist and will continue to be there, we also believe that there'll be enough verticalized agents in enterprises.
I wonder, so how do you think about, um, like, I guess, like, the go-to-market for your go-to-market product? Or if you wanna showcase the product for the audience, we could totally do, like, a quick demo or, like, quick
Yeah.
idea on that.
I think the AI seller that we recently rolled out, the autonomous agent that lives on the website and kind of interact with
Mhm,
the website visitors, I think it'll be a good demo. So I can do a quick 1 or 2 minutes demo that'll help people understand what Docket
mhm,
is about.
sure.
Um, let's see, share screen. Share screen. Okay. Now I
It
recently
doesn't work. Yeah.
I recently changed to this new browser called Dia. I don't know if you know
Mhm.
the browser. It's a AI first. Uh,
AI first browser.
yeah, I can I can do with the Dia tab. Let's see. Okay, I think I'll be able to do this. 1 second. I'm
Okay.
getting to a point where I can do this. Let me cancel. Present again. Share screen. Awesome. Okay. Grace, you can see the screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let me close these things quickly so that it's not. Okay. So this is our website. Imagine that, Grace, you are on our website. You are kind of starting to interact with uh, the website. You're like, convert website visits into qualified pipeline. You kind of are like, okay, makes sense. You keep scrolling down. Your website visitors are hungry for knowledge. You're like, okay, that makes sense. But you are not willing to book a demo because you're like, I don't want to speak with a human yet. I'm too early. So roughly on a B2B website, 98.5% of the people don't submit a form. It's only 1 to 1.5% of the people who will submit the form. The other 98.5% of the people will browse and bounce. So because they are not yet willing to speak with a human. But as you come down, you are seeing that there is an AI seller here. So let me click on it. Let me do an interaction so you get how the system works.
Hi, I'm Alex, an AI seller for Docket. Are you looking
Can
to
you hear it,
understand what Docket
Grace?
does, or do you have
Yeah.
another specific question?
I have no idea what Docket is. Can you tell me more?
Absolutely. Docket AI is an advanced AI revenue platform for enterprise sales and marketing teams. It provides AI powered agents that boost seller productivity, automate responses, and engage website visitors to increase pipeline by up to 30%. By the way, are you mostly in a sales or marketing role? That'll help me tailor how Docket fits your needs.
I'm in marketing, but I have a question. How do I train you? How easy it is to get the information to you?
Great question. Docket makes it really easy. You connect your knowledge sources like docs, web pages, CRMs, and more with just a few clicks. Most companies are up and running in hours, not days. By the way, is submitting a form the only way website visitors get info on your site today?
Yeah. Today, that's how it is. But how do you ensure that the answers are accurate, and how do you ensure that my data is safe?
Docket ensures accurate answers by attaching source citations, ranking info by recency and authority, and routing any unknowns to human experts, so no guesswork. For safety, it uses enterprise-grade security, SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27001, GDPR compliance, AES 256 encryption, and never trains models using your data. Do you do paid ads as part of your marketing?
Yes, we do.
Thanks. Docket's AI seller can help you turn more paid ad clicks into qualified pipeline by engaging visitors instantly instead of only using forms. Would it help if someone from our team reached out with more details specific to paid ads? If so, may I get your email?
Sure.
I think we can
Could you please enter your email?
Yeah.
wrap.
Hope,
Okay.
hopefully that gave a flavor of it. Hopefully you
Mhm,
could hear the
mhm.
agent thinking. I wasn't sure whether StreamYard is actually streaming it or not.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it's streaming, so, Jaith says like we can hear from like Alex, the AI specialist. So I wonder when you're thinking about like I guess like for one thing it's so basically it's a kind of like a conversational bot that kind of like gives you the answers to different tasks. So I guess like for the training you mentioned that it's like compared to like a Glean or ChatGPT or like other chatbot, the differentiations like you like after let's say it doesn't figure out something or there's like so first of all you use like the more recent data instead of like the older version of the data and then number two is like maybe you guys will like ask if there's like no answers to something you guys will ask someone from the team or like some other department to help like fill out the knowledge gap to kind of like get an answer for the sales team. So I wonder like what since it's called like AI sales engineer, like um assuming it is replacing the AI sales or like the sales engineer in general, I guess like how do you envision this person or like I mean this function with the existing sales team? So like a lot of people are building like AI SDR or like just like AI for like outreach related things. How do you envision this sits in the sales organization? And then how many people do you have to like use something like this?
In our opinion, no company has enough sales engineers.
Mhm,
Even the sales engineers in companies are like, please hire more sales engineers, right? So because every sales engineering team, in my opinion, is getting 3 times the request that they can service.
mhm,
So unless you are a service now that is doing a 1:1, like one account
mhm,
executive and one sales engineer, most companies don't have enough.
mhm,
So the way to think about it is we are not thinking about replacing the sales engineers. We do not think AI is at a point. Sales engineering, if you look at that role, sales engineering is a super high agency role.
mhm,
Meaning, you need the human intelligence really to perform the sales engineering to its truest limit. But having said that, you can imagine that there's a level 1 sales engineer and a level 5 sales engineer, where level 5 being the custom tooling and custom demoing, the completely high agency role. So our agent is somewhere between the level 2 and level 3, in our opinion. So we
mhm,
are going to be able to take care of all the instant answering tasks, document generation tasks, RFP tasks, some proposal answering tasks, all of those mundane tasks that a really amazing level 5 sales engineer does not want to do today. Those are the ones that the sales engineer is taking in our case, so that they are left with their time to go focus on the enterprise deals and complex problems. That is what enterprises want them to do, not sit down and write the security questionnaire for the 200th time, right? So
mhm,
that's how we think of the AI sales engineer, Grace. But what you saw on our website is our other agent called the AI seller agent. Here, we are using the same underlying sales knowledge lake to actually power an agent on the website. So today, if you go to a B2B website, what is the experience that you are getting? It's a set of static links,
mhm,
right? The in my opinion, the world of static links is kind of over. Even in Google, if you go and ask a question, you don't get a response. You get a response, you don't get the blue links, right?
mhm,
Similar to that, if you think about it in that fashion, a website is a bunch of static links. Tomorrow it wouldn't be the case. Every website will have a personal concierge who understand who you are as a buyer and will have the ability to kind of guide you down what you're looking for. So what you saw was the AI seller use case. And if you compare like a enterprise search company, they don't do an AI seller use case. They just don't have that offering at all. So I just wanted to make sure I differentiate between the sales engineering, which is the enabling
mhm,
thing that competes with the Gleans of the world, and the
mhm.
AI seller that does not compete with them at all.
Mm. I wonder, so like, can you share a little bit more about like the market size? Since I feel like this seems like you mentioned about like, I think like it's like there's 7 million sales engineers in the world, or like, I mean, not 7 million, but like, I guess there was like a specific number. I totally,
Yeah.
I may be butchering the number, but like, I guess like, how many people are in the sales role right now in the, like, I guess like in the US or like tech startup ecosystem? And then like, I guess like to replace the level 2 or level 3 AI sales engineer, like what does that entail from like a business standpoint for businesses?
Absolutely. I believe, and it depends on who you ask, obviously, with numbers. There are 5 million account executives in the world. There are 7 million customer success and customer support people in the world.
Mhm.
So if you look at who are the people who in go to market who needs this information, there is 7 plus 5, 12 million people.
Mhm.
And to support these people, there is roughly, depending on your definition of the sales engineer, 100,000 to 250,000 sales engineers,
Mhm.
whereas there is a need for at least 3 times of that sales engineer in the world.
Mhm.
Sales engineering role is very difficult to find, train, and
Mhm.
retain, because a sales engineering role does not have progression.
Mhm.
Where do you go, right? You are a sales engineer, you are a senior sales engineer, you are a head sales engineer. That's it. There's no more progression for that role, right? So most of the sales engineers, after doing it for some time, will move to some other role in the company. So
Mhm.
the gap, again, we are not trying to replace the existing sales engineers. There's a need for another, let's say, 500,000 sales engineers. That need is what we are meeting. So we are delivering the work that these 500,000 non-existing sales engineers have to do, so that the go to market teams can be much more efficient in the world.
For sure. So one of the audience is like Hardik. I think what we are communicating is about like the market size of the sales engineer right now. So for like I guess like when you're thinking about in terms of like the buying motion from the enterprise, so how big of like the enterprise are you currently shooting for? Is that the mid market? Is that like the IPO company, or is that like a startup space? How do you think about the go-to-market motion for the AI sales engineer?
We
Also,
are
by the
very,
way, like on our podcast specifically, we already have the agents that are managing other agent. And then the other day, I was at my dinner, I was chatting with a founder who are building the AI lead engineer. So obviously, I feel like any function right now is having a company that's building something that's replacing the human to like using AI. So I wonder how do you feel like it will sit in the future of the sales or like startup organizations since everybody's replaced by an AI? Should we just use I guess like the AI managing AI company will be the AI manager, but the rest is just all other AI company? Or how do you think about
yeah.
the whole like structure or orchestration of the entire like AI and force.
Yeah, it's an interesting world to live in. Let me answer your first question. When we try to sell, we are targeting mid market and above. We are also a startup, right? So we
Mhm,
cannot only be hunting whales, because the whale hunting will take time. So
mhm,
we do have some really massive companies with over 100,000 employees. But when we talk to them, they will tell us, when you start talking to us, it's going to take anywhere between 24 months to 36 months for this deal to get done. They
mhm,
openly say on the first call, they like what they see, but it's going to take us 3 years to buy you guys, right? From a product standpoint. So it's
mhm,
a so we cannot just be whale hunting, because it's a 3-year thing and we don't want to do it. So we you can imagine that we have customers, we have as small as like 100 employee companies. Our average is probably 500, 600 employee company. We have 4,000 people, 5,000 people company as customers. And then we have some really big ones in the pipe, which hopefully in another few months will convert. So that's who we target. In terms of the second question that you asked, yes, every company is trying to replace some part of the work that's happening, right? Most of
mhm,
the founders think of work replacement rather than human replacement, honestly. But if you ask me, would human replacement happen? 100% human replacement will happen. Because
mhm,
if you look at the amount of money that is getting pooled into these companies through investors, there is no way those money will come back. It is if it is just software budget. So the whole
mhm,
math of SaaS companies versus AI companies is that the AI companies are going to be able to tap into the people hiring budget. So that's why we think of this market of AI agents as 5 trillion, 6 trillion, something like that, because
mhm,
that is tapping into the human hiring budget as we speak.
mm.
Um, but the best way to, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking about like asking about the pricing aspect of things because I think at my own conference, so I hosted a conference 2 months ago. There was a lot of like top VCs and founders were there, and then people were saying that there's such a huge trend of like instead of like a SaaS-based pricing model. It is kind of like a project based, like, I guess, like, payment model, which means, like, for example, if it accomplish XYZ task, it's similar to what you were saying about, like, it may be eating into the current human's salary part. So, like, basically it's like project based, instead of like just like a SaaS, like, month to month based pricing model. I was just curious about, like, your thoughts on, like, how do you charge currently, and then what do you envision after it kind of like replace partially of the human salary? Like, how do you kind of like envision it works?
Pricing is a very interesting discussion. I had a conversation recently about pricing to one of the leading publishers as well.
Mhm,
Hopefully, that article will come live soon. See, pricing has always been evolving, Grace, in my opinion. People are talking
mhm,
about pricing way more in the AI world. But if you look at like pre-1990s, right, there was this, the human started with barter system. You give
mhm,
me something, I give back something. That's the first pricing model.
mhm,
Then there was the money, where I give you money, you give me the thing, the hard
mhm,
thing, right? And then it became, I pay you money, you give me a software
mhm,
for a year, right? It's a license by the Oracles and Microsofts of the world. Then it became, I'm going to, so that came in a CD or something, right? Or something, flip
mhm,
disk or something. Then I pay you money, you are delivering the software to me
mhm,
as a software as a service, which is the SaaS model.
mhm,
Then we started seeing the consumption based model, which is the Snowflakes and Databricks model, where
mhm,
you commit to a minimum of, let's say, $1 million and
mhm,
a maximum of, say, something. And then everything that they are doing is about consumption. So they will work
mhm,
with you to increase your consumption on Snowflake. As your consumption of Snowflake increases, the Snowflake will make more money. But at the same time, if you are using more of Snowflake, means you are realizing more value out of it. So it's a
mhm,
consumption based pricing we saw. All of this happened pre AI, and then AI came. And then the biggest difference that AI brought into this pricing world is the so-called um, outcome based pricing. So work delivered, how
mhm,
does a work delivered mean? It's an outcome, right?
mhm,
A good example is a best example is customer support. So if you're talking, you have a problem about Docket, you reach out to me. What does
mhm,
success or outcome look like? That your problem is resolved, right? So
mhm,
resolution is the outcome that is being delivered. And if we are deploying an AI agent to take care of your problems, then if you say I'm good, then it's resolved. And
mhm,
companies are happy to pay like $4 for or $5 per resolution, because
mhm,
a human resolving averages about $15 to $20 per resolution.
mhm,
So I'm still saving 75% by giving it to an AI, right? Companies like Intercom or Sierra AI, these companies are kind of doing that. Then
mhm,
to answer your specific question, there is also a world where humans are getting replaced to some extent, at least in the best way to think about human replacement, by the way, just to be clear, and this answers your earlier question, mediocre work is getting replaced, right? It's not like we we are not able to, as a sales engineer, go and replace the best sales engineers.
mhm,
But if you are a mediocre sales engineer whose primary value is just going and searching a file or giving an answer that is already written down somewhere, then you're gone. If you are an
mhm,
SDR whose only job is to copy paste the emails, then
mhm,
you're gone, right? But if you are a proper SDR who has the ability to do proper prospecting, proper targeting, proper emailing, proper follow up, proper phone call, you're not getting replaced anytime soon. So
mhm,
that's the way to think about replacement. So mediocre things are going to get replaced. And when those entire people are going to get replaced, there is
mhm,
potentially an agent pricing that'll come out, which is $100,000 is what how much you will pay for a human. But for an agent, you are going to pay $25,000, but this agent is going to work 24/7. So you
mhm,
will get a reduction in the pricing and thrice the coverage, 8 hours instead of, I mean, 24 hours instead of 8 hours. So that's how the world is evolving. My view of the whole pricing is that you have to pick the pricing that works for you. For example, we have a platform and consumption pricing. So there's a base platform
mhm,
pricing, and then everything on top is a consumption based pricing. We
mhm,
cannot do an outcome based pricing because we are too far away from the sales being done. So as a
mhm,
company, we should enforce ourselves. We have to go outcome based. Like we cannot, right? So as you are building whichever product you are building, you have to pick the pricing that you want to go after.
I wonder, so like since like we briefly chat about the go to market, so you mentioned like mid market and above are like mostly like the people that you wanted to land as client, and I wonder from the go to market motion in that sense, like I guess like who do you consider as like the most like target buyer? Is that like the CISO, or like is that the CTO, or is that the CRO? Like how do you kind of like identify the person that you should be chatting with at these companies? And uh since you mentioned like the mid market or like the later stage market have a lot of like have like a really long sales cycle, like how do you as a CEO to like sell it to them? um yeah, what does that kind of like journey look like for you to like figure out the blueprint to like sell to these companies?
Let me break it down so it's easier for the
Mhm,
listener, right? Let's start at the marketing level. What are
mhm,
the things that we are doing to bring in the leads? The
mhm,
things that are working for us. One, paid ads campaigns are working for us.
mhm,
Primarily LinkedIn. We also use a little bit of others, but LinkedIn ads is working for us.
mhm,
LinkedIn organic is working for us. I have 42,000 plus 41,000 something
mhm,
followers on LinkedIn. I know you have more. So I,
mhm,
you know the value of it, right? Obviously, when you put out right
mhm,
content, a lot of people ping you back and they engage, and their network will get to see what you're sharing. That has
mhm,
been useful for us. So because of the LinkedIn that we are doing, and also some of the other marketing things that we are doing, like we are a Gartner cool vendor as an example. So those kinds of things are driving inbound back to our website. And our AI seller is able to do a lot of work for us on the inbound side. We get over 10.2% engagement on our AI seller. So like more than 1 out of 10 people is actually talking to the AI seller, and we get really high conversion from the AI seller. So that's part of the stack. And so we have paid ads, we have social plus inbound working. Then we have events that are working out. We pick and choose the right events to go and do a booth. So we did a
mhm,
Gartner CSO event, Gartner CMO event. Both of them turned out to be really good outcomes for us. And finally, we do like small events and dinners, like 10-15 people dinners. I wouldn't say it has really worked for us, but it hasn't been bad. But at our stage, since we are still a startup, we do not need like 10 channels that are working. We just need like two
mhm,
channels that are working. We have like four things that are working. We are happy with it. We have enough lead flow. We have enough pipeline, all good. So that's how we add people to our pipe. Now, who do we target? Since we have two agents, we have the CROs who we target with our AI
mhm,
sales engineer, and we have the CMOs who we target with the AI seller. Now, coming to our land motion. Now, when you have two products and you are a startup, you cannot sell everything, right? You just don't have the bandwidth. So for us, AI seller is the landing motion for us. So when you are talking to a company for the first time, you are going and selling them only the AI seller. You meaning us, we are selling only the AI seller, because
mhm,
we know that that's a faster land. Our sales cycles are much faster, the problem is much more finite. Our product is way better than anything out there in the market. There is no confusion like, how are you different from Perplexity, how are you different from Glean? None of those questions come up. It's a
mhm,
straight up, in 20 days we are in, right? So
mhm,
that is our land motion. But once we land, then they are like, oh, you guys had this sales engineer that can answer internal questions. Oh, that's
mhm,
exciting. Can we try that? Oh, it's based on the same sales knowledge lake. So we already have the data in there. Oh, you just integrate it to Slack. Okay. So that is our expansion motion. So that's how we are running. Today it is AI seller first and the AI sales engineer second. And it gives us a wall-to-wall growth in our customer base.
totally. What's your thought on like the marketing funnel? Since like, I mean, lately we have a lot of these like Gen Z apps that are really targeting, um, like technically I guess like partially they want to replace the sales agents, but like essentially it's just like an ongoing chat GPT in the background. Then when you're like interacting with human, you kind of see like what you are supposed to say, I guess like on the side. I don't know if this is like something that like people will turn into in the future for sales, but like obviously I feel like a lot of people done a lot of like consumer marketing, which is like, viral TikTok and stuff like that. But like since like, 70% of the workforce now is dominated by millennial and Gen Z, like, these kind of viral marketing does have like its place to like, attract the different users. How do you think about like, marketing versus like, I guess, like the product building? Also for the product itself, like in the future, does it kind of look like, you're wearing like invisible glasses that like, you can see all the information on the screen to like help you say the right thing? Is that like where the product motion is going to be going?
Absolutely. So we already have it. So we launched it like
Mhm,
few months back. But
mhm,
to their credit, to the company that you're mentioning, their credit, their marketing is better, honestly, right? See, the thing is, marketing has always been about finding the new thing and
mhm,
kind of really going full blown, right? What those
mhm,
guys have been able to do is the Gen Z way of marketing, which is the more like, I don't think I will put cheat on everything on my website, right? Like
mhm,
that's not how I think because I'm a millennial, right? So there's a
mhm,
difference between the thought process, but
mhm,
there's no right and wrong here. Absolutely, I think if you're able to garner the attention of the right people
mhm,
without a lot of negativity around it, because there are also
mhm,
some AI companies that are spread that have grown the virality using negativity. When I say
mhm,
negativity, it is about going against the human ethos, right? But I
mhm,
don't think these guys went against the human ethos. They are kind of creating interesting ways of communicating what they are doing.
mhm,
So I'm fully on board with that. My opinion is that B2C kind of marketing has been way ahead of B2B marketing, like 5 years ahead of whatever B2C does now, B2B will kind of do 5 years later. That's how it has been running for the last 10,
mhm,
15 years. And B2C tends to be way more colorful, way more creative. Look at the Burger King ads, McDonald's ad, Audi, BMW ads.
mhm,
These are like amazing ads. Like you look at them and you go, wow. Like, but now compared to the B2B, right? You will see a
mhm,
table, somebody sitting there and typing, so much boring ads. But if you
mhm,
think about it, MacD is also selling to me. This B2B company is also selling to me, and I'm one human being. So if
mhm,
MacD ad is interesting to me, then a really cool B2B ad will also be interesting to me. But the
mhm,
B2B folks don't just think that way because of the constraints, the way it has always been. So at some level, AI is also leveling the playing field between B2B and B2C. B2B is also advancing way quicker with AI. B2C is also advancing very quick with AI. So there is no 5 year gap between them, is my point. So I believe that these kinds of marketing things will continue to be there. But this is a unicorn thing, Grace. Like virality, there are a few people who have the ability to create the virality. But again, for something that is like this, the viral loop might happen in 1 out of 1,000 companies. You can try to
mhm.
create virality. I can wake up today and say I'm going to create virality. I can try, but I think 1 out of 1,000 companies will be able to do that, not 900 out of 1,000 companies.
For sure. Well, I think the company you mentioned was also on our show, but I think like it's very interesting to watch these like fancy commercials. But I think like I wonder if like the buyer persona would kind of like be differed from B2B and B2C, as like people may be more like used to consume something a lot more tamed because of like the corporate culture that you have to sell to your boss, your boss's boss, to like, buy in on a product you will be using for your department. I think it's very different than like if I want to buy this for myself. So
Yeah.
like I think it's definitely like a very interesting like trends to watch, but I just like I personally do not have a conclusion on which one would be like a better performance in terms of like actually like the sales numbers. Um I wonder, so for the, I guess you mentioned about like the events that you guys would go to, like the CMO or CISO events. I guess like who would you target to like have a sales talk with, and then how long does it take for you guys to close from like a con typically?
Today, we speak primarily with the CMOs as the first step. Just because we have
Mhm,
made the AI seller as our land motion, we typically
mhm,
talk to the CMOs. I mean, we have no AI. We would love to talk to CROs also, but even in CRO's case, when we kind of go and sell the AI seller, they immediately route us to the CMO, and that's the marketing function. So CMO, head of demand generation, head of website experiences, head of brand marketing, RevOps or marketing ops. These are some of the titles with whom we want to have conversations. So our AI seller deal cycles are actually pretty fast. We have had cases where we closed in 3 days, first call, third day MSA
Mhm.
signed kind of case. I think our average is about a month now. So it's not bad
Mhm.
at all. That's also because it's a consumption based pricing, right? So we are not trying to get to $120,000 deal on the first day. We just want to land quickly with something that they feel is very grokable. And then from there, the consumption based pricing is kind of driving, or the more they are using, it's kind of driving our ACVs higher. We have healthy ACVs even at the starting point, but it grows pretty quickly. So that's how our sales cycles are. But most of the companies that I have seen, typical landing, the deal cycles are similar to the SaaS. If you're selling like a $50,000 deal, then a 50 to 100K deal is 90-day sales cycle,
Mhm.
right? That's what I have seen for most parts.
For sure. What do you think is like the biggest like misconception about AI in sales enablement right now?
That AI is a magic wand, that
Mhm.
AI is going to take care of everything, and one tool can take care of everything.
Mhm.
We did not have this wrong notion when it comes to SaaS tools, right? With SaaS tools, we knew this SaaS tool was for this, and this SaaS tool was for something else. But when
Mhm.
it comes to AI, majorly because most of the people's exposure with AI is around Chat GPT, and with
Mhm.
Chat GPT, it's a very open-ended system, and you can
Mhm.
ask any question, and it'll give you some answer, right? So
Mhm.
100% of the time, it will give you some answer. So they kind of take that view and put it on all of the B2B enterprises and say, okay, this system should be able to do everything, should be able to update
Mhm.
my Salesforce, should be able to do analytics, should be able to answer questions, should be able to get on a Zoom call, should be able to, go do an interview, it needs. So that view, I think, is the most common misconception. You cannot, the thing about AI is the more agency you give, the more creativity, the more creative you let the AI be, the more errors will happen. So if you
Mm.
look at ChatGPT, if you really look at ChatGPT is making a ton of errors, but it's because it's a very open-ended system and you're okay with it. But in an enterprise use case, you cannot have errors, right? So you have to
Mm.
curb the creativity of the AI agent to make it focus on the use case at hand. At that
Mhm.
point, you cannot make it do everything. So when you're evaluating a vendor to do something, you have to keep that in mind.
For sure. Since you have also been an investor yourself, like from like angel investing or you co-founded a venture firm, why don't we talk about like from your lens, like what makes a um company appealing to you? Since like you also invest in a lot of like these like SaaS space from like AI software testing to, B2B marketing platforms. Like how do you think about like sourcing deal for yourself? And what were some like general trends that you're seeing in the B2B SaaS space?
Yeah, I don't do a lot of work for sourcing myself. A lot of the
Mhm.
deals come to me thanks to my network, or I'm also an
Mhm.
LP in a few funds. So many
Mhm.
cases the funds are like, "Hey, Arjun, we have this interesting company. We have decided to lead the round, but they have carved out $150,000 for value-added angels, and
Mhm.
your background is interesting because of go-to-market. Do you want to take a look at it?" So the funds that I'm an LP in, they send a few really good deals every year, which I
Mhm.
most in many cases I end up doing. That's probably
Mhm.
2 or 3 or 4 deals that I do. I write the first checks, pretty much first checks, in the sense it's a larger round and I'm part of it.
Mhm.
And it's the first check that's going into the company typically.
Mhm.
So for me, there might not be a ton of traction that I can look at. There might not be a ton of product. There might not be a ton of customers. The thing that I look for is the operator. Who is the founder? Who are the founders of the company? That's pretty much the only thing that I get to look at. And honestly speaking, that is the only thing that you got to look at, because
Mhm.
AI is shifting so quickly under your feet. uh, the trick is to remain steady when the earth is moving below you, right? So for that, you need to be a good set of co-founders. So that's what I look for. And the co-founder, ideally, if they have domain expertise in what they want to build, that's a big plus. And if they have the right machine learning AI experience, that's a big plus. If they have hired a set of couple of like really amazing people, that is a big plus. If they have
Mhm.
a to articulate really well, there's a complex context and they are able to articulate it really well, that's a big
Mhm.
plus. So you take it, you combine all of these things, you look for who are the other people who are backing them, then you make a quick call. That's all.
Mm. How do you think about like when, let's say, if a founder that's like super experienced, like yourself, they were like ex executive at blah 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 company, instead of like, a two guys who were like, maybe work at two young hot startup for 2 years and then they started building the same thing in like a very, I guess, like a red ocean ish problem. So which one would you like lean towards to? And then what kind of concern would you kind of like have? Or like how do you do the diligence process when two people are approaching the same problem but like having very different solution or like vibe to the approach of solving it?
Yeah, it is about the point of view. You just have to sit down and hear what is their point of view of the world. So
Mhm.
every founder starts with like some form of a unique insight, or
Mhm.
there is a promised land that they are envisioning in their head, right? So
Mhm.
what is their point of view? Is it an incremental point of view or is it a disruptive point of view, right? They thinking that there is going to be like a 10% efficiency improvement, or
Mhm.
are they like, this whole thing is going to go upside down, right? So like that disruptive point of view is typically what you look for. And
Mhm.
sometimes that will come from very experienced people, sometimes that'll not come from experienced people, honestly,
Mhm.
because a person like me, experience is there, but experience is
Mhm.
also baggage. The problem with somebody like me is uh, I know all of the sales vendors, all of the martech vendors,
Mhm.
so whenever I think of a feature, I'm like, yeah, they do it, that they do it,
Mhm.
so that actually constrains me, honestly, right? So there is also experience, baggage also comes with experience, versus
Mhm.
a young person, they don't know many things, so they are like, this is my point of view, I'm just gonna go
Mhm.
hit that, right? So I think that whether I will invest in that experienced person or the young person will depend on the point of view of what the future world will look like with their solution in.
Mhm.
And the second thing would be, the attitude that they have. You have to back the people who you believe will make it, regardless of whether you put money or not. Whether you
Mm.
put money or not, they are going to make it big. You're convinced about that, and then you put money in them. That's it.
Mm.
So those are the two things that I look at that point.
When thinking about like back to the time before, I guess like the ZoomInfo, before you successfully sold two companies, like when at the early career stage, like I guess like do you envision the people who are in your cohort like that are the most like successful back in time peers? Are they still the most successful peers now? Or like do you feel like it's a very different set of people?
I started in 2012. I was
Mhm.
23 at that time. So when I started, and I started in Kerala, which is the southwest coast of India. Startup
Mhm.
was not a hard name. So the peers wasn't that high. I at the
Mhm.
same time there were other companies that were starting, right? Like, like Front App as an example, Matilda's company was kind of in the early stages. Pipe Drive, the CRM company, was kind of starting.
Mhm.
And Andres, the co-founder, and I've had discussions. Outreach started actually a year after that. 2013 is when Outreach really started. So
Mhm.
there are a lot of companies that kind of started in the same realm, and I kind of
Mhm.
knew the founders to some extent. But since I was in a corner of the world that was too far out of the startup world, I wouldn't say I had a lot of peers that I knew really well. We hung out,
Mhm.
we kind of exchanged ideas and thoughts based on the experiments
Mhm.
that we did. None of that was true. I had some friends, we were all in the same boat, but we were all in the lack of exposure boat. To
Mhm.
but now, I mean, I sit in Bay Area. My office is in Palo Alto, University Avenue. If there was like
Mhm.
one place you call the heart of AI, then it is
Mhm.
this band from Palo Alto all the way to the San Francisco city, right? That's the
Mhm.
heart of AI today. So
Mhm.
almost anybody who you want to find and talk to is in that stretch, or they will
Mhm.
end up being in that stretch at some point in time. So
Mhm.
today, my peers are obviously way smarter people than me, and way better. Any question that I have somebody who I can pick up the phone, do a text or a call. So the world has really changed, personally for me, and as the world also has changed quite a
Mhm.
bit.
For sure. I totally agree with you. I feel like since like I feel like the environment you mentioned like definitely changed a lot, and then both like I guess like globally as a culture towards startup community instead of like just I guess like the location itself. I wonder how do you build your own personal board of advisors once you landed to the US, and then how do you make how did that or like what are some like important mindset that kind of you had to help you succeed maybe more than a lot of peers that who came from like a similar background?
I think just understanding of what you don't know. So I have this thing that
Mhm,
I know is a finite possibility, because
mhm,
there's always a finiteness to what you know, but I don't
mhm,
know is an infinite possibility, because there is infinite things that you don't know. So
mhm,
if you have that kind of a mindset, then your mindset flips into learning, right? Everybody who you meet, there's something for you to learn from. Even today, even the youngest of the people who is just coming out of Stanford, 21 years old, the kind of things that they have experimented with is actually way higher than what you have done in many cases in what they do, right? So there's a
mhm,
learning that you can get from those people. So everybody who I meet, I kind of keep that at the back of my mind, that there is something that I don't know that this person
mhm,
knows way better than me. And
mhm,
in Bay Area, it tends to be true in most cases. There are very, very, very few rooms here in the Bay Area where anybody can walk in and they can think
mhm,
that I'm the smartest person in the room. There are very, very, very few rooms, because this
mhm,
is the amount of brain power, the sheer intellect that is in these rooms, in these places, is
mhm,
very, very high. So it is very humbling experience to walk into any rooms and hear some of the level of
mhm,
conversations that are happening. So when you're ready to acknowledge that without the ego, then
mhm,
you make network, because the
mhm,
people who you meet, they are like, okay, this guy is staying grounded. He or
mhm,
she knows what they know, and they also know what they don't know, and they are willing to ask questions. They are willing to put their ego aside. So let me help these guys out, at least in a few things.
mhm,
So I think that has been the biggest thing that has helped me. The second big thing is, that's about getting something from people, right? This part of it. The second part that I've always focused on is, whenever I meet somebody, I
mhm,
try my level best to add value to them. So today,
mhm,
now, when I'm speaking to you, all I'm thinking is I should give the best podcast to Grace as much as possible from my side. Right.
mhm,
So I put in all the effort, all the energy to make sure that this podcast goes maximum for you. Right. That's
mhm,
my mindset walking into this interview, rather than saying, how can this really make my life better? That is also there, but my focus is on you at this point. Right. So I think every person who you meet, if you genuinely try to add value to that person, you will be able to recruit those people. You will be able to get funding from those people, right? So that's the other side of my networking philosophy.
for sure. Um, how do you kind of like say no when people ask you things that like you couldn't really help with, or like, it's, you know, you are there to create like shareholder value, and then you have your own like employees and like shareholders to like respond to. So like obviously every day like you can't just do the five things that your friends ask you to do, right? So like how do you think about like balance of like making the best effort to add value to people, but also like saying no when things are challenging for you, or like I guess like challenging to like um balance between your current priority at work.
There was a time when I used to respond to every single message that I got
Mhm,
across channels.
mhm,
Eventually, I try to respond to as much as possible.
mhm,
But how do you say no? The way to say no is to say no with as much truth as possible. So when somebody asks me for a meeting on LinkedIn, my answer is always true. My calendar is so much full that I
mhm,
cannot give you a meeting. But if you have a specific question, why don't you send me a Loom? I'll try my level best
mhm,
to see the Loom and then come back with my 2 cents. And
mhm,
in many cases, some people will drop it at that point. Some people
mhm,
will send me the, if for the people who send me the Loom, I know that they have put in the 3 minutes or 4 minutes of effort. So I'm going to put in that 1 minute of effort to speed through it, read it, and then leave a few comments in it. So
mhm,
that's, and you do that like at nights, over the weekend, because at the end of the day, you as a human, your satisfaction comes from both building the company but also giving back. right? There is enough stats
Mhm,
out there that says that giving is actually more satisfactory than getting,
mhm,
from a human behavioral evolution standpoint. So
mhm.
I try to give at least a little bit of time for that, so that that adds to my own satisfaction as well.
For sure. I want to wrap with a 1 minute fire round for you.
Sure.
What's your favorite book?
Hard Things About the Hard Things is probably my favorite book, but I'm not so much of a book reader. I see
Mhm.
mostly through YouTube and podcasts.
Who would you invite to a dinner party?
Who would I invite to my dinner party?
Mhm,
Um, any smart founder who has been ahead of me by 2 years. Somebody who is at Series B and has
mhm.
built a grounded company. Yeah, I would love to have them.
Who made the biggest impact in your career?
My father. uh, Not because he made a big impact in my career, because my father has always been my role model. I grew up learning, seeing him, and that has whoever I am is majorly by kind of trying to imitate him to some extent. So my father.
Mhm. Where can we find you outside of work?
Uh, I'm working all the time, but when I'm not working, I go and play badminton, or I hang out with my friends here at my house or at their houses. So I play badminton 2 or 3 times a week at a academy here, and then yeah, I watch some movies. I hang out with friends.
Love that. Well, Arjun, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was such a great conversation.
Thanks a lot, Grace. It was so natural. I enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully it added value to the people.
Amazing.